Hello, and welcome to the Postal Pleasures channel. Today we're going to do another episode of stamp collecting terminology, and today's term will be chalky paper. So what is chalky paper? Chalky paper is a fraud prevention device that was applied to stamps to hinder people from washing cancels off their stamps and reusing them fraudulently for a secondary posting. The main thing to know about chalky paper, and we'll talk about how to detect it in a minute, is that you absolutely should not try soaking them. The 6 stamps here are a result of what happens when you do try to soak them. These 6 stamps would be worth, in mint state as they were originally, would be worth over $100. But they've taken quite a bit of damage, and most of that's come from soaking them. I assume at one point in someone's collection they were improperly stored together as a group and probably stuck together, like most of us have probably had happen to us accidentally, or received that happened to somebody else and had to deal with a clump of stamps. And then the person receiving them decided, oh, look, to get these stamps apart, I'll have to soak them. And maybe that really was their only option, but unfortunately, this collection of fairly expensive stamps was pretty much ruined by soaking them, because what happens when you soak a chalky paper finish stamp is that not only do you lose your cancel, let's say, but the chalk lifts the ink off the paper as well. So you can see how damaged these are in places. Not to mention there seems to be some color running on some of these, like there's a color where it was touching something else. But really the main thing we're talking about here is the chalky paper and the damage. One other thought I had about the chalky finish stamps is that I've read but not tested that if you do really wish to get them off of paper, you can lightly apply a proper stamp lift fluid to the paper on the back of the stamp, not to the stamp itself, being careful not to add so much as to have it soak into the stamp, but just enough to affect the gum and allow for release. I'm sure it's a very delicate process, and again, a fine artist brush is what I've heard is the recommendation for applying that. So again, your mileage may vary. I'm not advising you one way or the other. I don't want to be responsible for damage to your stamp, but it is certainly something I've read about and figured I should share here for completeness. So, one of the positives about the chalky paper, I guess, and this was a byproduct of the intent, was that it actually led to really, really crisp colors, because the chalky paper took the ink very well. It didn't allow the ink to bleed into the paper. So, you can have some very, very nice chalky finish stamps, if you don't get them wet or otherwise damage them. So how do you tell if you have a chalky paper stamp? Well, the first thing to do, if you suspect it could be chalky paper, is certainly look it up in a catalog if you have, and see if it's listed as a chalky paper stamp, in which case you don't want to soak it. A lot of issues will have both a chalky paper version and an ordinary paper version, so then you have to determine whether it is a chalky or not before you decide to soak it. So in those cases, there's a couple tests, and some of it will come with experience. So the first thing I have here is a loop. And I don't think I'll have a good way to show you this without maybe taking a screenshot from, say, a microscope or something like that. But and I don't have an example of chalky finish and non-chalky finish stamps of the same type. But essentially, you'll see what look like craters or bubbles if you look at this under some magnification. And I've got a 7x loop here, and I think I can almost see it with that, but I could also be imagining it as well. The look and feel is just a little bit different, so an experienced philatelist will come to know chalky paper. The tried and true method is rubbing it with a silver coin, and it will leave a pencil-like mark. Or I guess I actually started and tried a ring here a minute ago before I found my coin. And it does in fact work, but then you're saying, well, now I'm actually, degrading my stamp as well. And yes, absolutely, there's some truth to that, and you'll actually see a lot of older chalky finish stamps in the marketplace with these pencil-like marks on them, and you probably can't see. Maybe I'll take a picture and add it to this video, but I've added one with a coin here right at the tip of my tweezer, and a slightly broader but fainter line here that I did with the edge of the ring. So it is a good test. I've not tried that you can do this test on the back of the stamp as well, which would probably be wiser. But I have not tested that, and I've only read it on one source. I've also read, but not tested, and actually I may test it here now in a minute, that if you want to clean that line off the stamp, again at risk of more damage, but I'm already working with very damaged stamps, that these high-quality Staedtler Mars Plastic, like engineering or drafting erasers, work well. And I'm actually a huge fan of them, which is why I have one here, although it's wrapped. But I also, I actually label my 102 cards with a mechanical pencil, and they just happen to have the white plastic erasers, and the erasers do a very, very good job. So this is actually a brand new one. Let's see, and I'm going to touch this with my fingers, which I know is a no-no. And I'm just going to lightly, see, and of course now I won't be able to take a picture to show you this mark, I apologize. And it does appear to be taking away the mark, although I can still see it. I guess there's a balance between how much I want to rub this. Yeah, I would say that mark, I can still see it. As soon as I get a little more light in there, I see it. I think I could completely get rid of it if I wanted to, but it is significantly fainter now. I'll get a look at that after the video with my loupe and see if I would have preferred to leave the mark or whether it has cleaned up sufficiently without disturbing the surface. I'm not advising you to, do this semi-destructive test or erase it after the fact. That's certainly up to you and your collection, but I am advising you to avoid soaking your chalky finish stamps. And actually part of the reason I was starting this video was because I'm hoping to do a video about soaking stamps first, and I was writing out my topics for that video, and I decided this really needed to be a video on its own because it's such a broad topic. So again, hopefully I have saved some stamps with this video, and please follow the channel if you'd like to see more. I could try to put out a few videos a week if I can. Thanks again for watching.